Oh, yeah. Is it Tuesday already? Wow. No more Luke Skywalker? Mark Hamill shocks the Star Wars fandom by telling us that he will no longer be playing Luke Skywalker. Not that big of a surprise, but kind of a bummer as we got some Mandoverse stuff in the works right now that would surely like to see Luke Skywalker involved in. Also, Tony Gilroy has said Disney told him that streaming is dead? That's news to me. The possibility of seeing a Book of Boba Fett Season 2 and this wild retcon that Star Wars fans are begging for now. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time, so without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon? Okay, so honestly, last week was a pretty wild week for Star Wars news. We were all over the place, but this week continues the trend. Mark Hamill comes out interviewing for this new movie that he's in called The Life of Chuck, I think. Not too sure what that's about, but he reveals in this interview when asked about Star Wars that he is done with Luke Skywalker. He is done with Star Wars. He appreciates his time, but he is done. We're going to watch that interview and talk about it in a second, but we got some other crazy stuff to get to too. As Tony Gilroy, well, it's still talking about Andor Season 2, because even though it's over, it's not going anywhere. Andor Season 2 will be a part of the Star Wars conversation for years and years to come. But he said that streaming is dead. Now, we've been talking about over the last couple weeks the fact that after Ahsoka Season 2, there is no live-action Star Wars content ready to go. Or at least, as far as we're aware, as the audience, there is no live-action Star Wars projects after Ahsoka Season 2, at least none of that have been announced yet. So with that, and Tony Gilroy saying that streaming is dead, the concern for possible future seasons of Book of Boba Fett, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, Kenobi, and new shows like a Andor, but not an Andor, or like a Mandalorian, but not the Mandalorian, the possibility for those future shows seems to be as shaky as ever. But before we get into any of it, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? I don't know why, but this gap between like Saturday streams and Tuesday streams feels like 10 weeks. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in forever. It feels like so long. But let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Brandon Baker, what is up? Skywalker Academy in the house. Explore the Force, what is up? Mando United, how we doing? Steve in the house. Chris, what is up? John Groom, how we doing? I Haja, what is up? Starship 66 in the house. Cleve Morris, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives, how we doing? Fearless, what is up? WUV Grad, how we doing? Austin Snow in the house. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so I really don't know. I think we should start with the Luke Skywalker stuff. All of this is becoming a little bit concerning. A little bit... because if Luke Skywalker's not in the Mandoverse movies or Mandoverse shows any further, with at least without Mark Hamill's help, then what is this future content going to look like for Star Wars in the Mandoverse? Is this Heir to the Empire canon version really not going to involve Luke, Leia, and Han? Because that would be a massive missed opportunity. So let's talk about what Mark Hamill actually said, and let's dissect it. So again, like I mentioned earlier, this is coming from an interview where he is promoting his new movie that he is currently on a press tour for, called The Life of Chuck. Never heard of it. Give me a 1 into the chat if you know what the hell The Life of Chuck is. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna watch this anyway. So this is comicbook.com, this interview. Let's take a look. Hang on, let's do this. Do that. Do this. Do that. Okay. Hope that's very quiet.
Idols.
That's so cool. Mark, you're probably going to be asked this a bajillion times, but now that the Rey movie is official, would you be up for making an appearance as a Force ghost?
In what?
The Rey movie, it's
Pause right there. In what? as most Star Wars fans seem to be saying nowadays with the Rey movie. The Rey movie is such an interesting thing. It was supposed to be our first movie since Rise. Now it's not even going to be the second or third movie since Rise. It's clearly gotten pushed back because of the fan reaction to its announcement. Not a lot of fans are very happy with the continuation of the sequel characters. Not a lot of fans were happy about Sharmina Bechinoy being the director of that movie. There was a lot going against it. I still have hope for the Rey movie. I think that it can continue that character and hopefully make it a lot better for a lot of other fans. But the biggest thing the Rey movie has going for it is its post-sequels. It's the future of the galaxy. It's what's going on with the government at the time. Is Coruscant still a thing? Is it still the capital of the galaxy? What is the next Jedi Order going to look like? What's the new threat? Is it Abeloth? Is it the Grisk or the Vogger? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's what excites me the most about the Rey movie. But Mark's reaction is pretty much what the Star Wars fandom has been saying. But let's keep going.
It's officially happening, I guess. I was just going to
Oh,
see.
I don't know about that. Listen, I am so grateful to George for letting me be a part of that back in the days, the humble days when George called Star Wars the most expensive, low-budget movie ever made. We never expected it to be.
Just for your information, Star Wars: A New Hope cost $8 million to make. Just $8 million. Obviously, at the time in 1976, that was a lot of money. But $8 million now wouldn't even get you like one scene. Maybe two.
Become a permanent franchise and a part of pop culture like that. But my view is like, I had my time. I'm appreciative of that. But I really think they should, focus on the future and all the new characters. And by the way, when I disappeared I left my robes behind, and there's no way I'm going to appear as a naked Force ghost. I'm just letting you know that right now.
Okay.
So he pretty much says it's time to move on. Much like Luke Skywalker saying in The Last Jedi, it's time to move on. It makes sense. I mean, going into the future, we want to see more new characters. We don't want to just rely on the old, as some fans seem to think is going on here. Actors lie. I mean, we have the same conversation over and over and over again, week in and week out. Actors lie. We were just talking about how Ming-Na Wen is saying she's not going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie as Fennec Shand, meaning that Boba Fett, Fennec Shand won't be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But I think that's a lie too. So Mark Hamill, of course, is on the older end, and whether or not he'll be in the Rey movie as a Force ghost, well, that really, it's not all that important, I don't think. I think the more important thing for the character of Luke Skywalker is this Mandoverse, is Grand Admiral Thrawn, is seeing Luke, Leia, and Han on the same screen again together. That's the most important piece. Now, you could say, Mike, they don't need Mark Hamill to do that. They don't need to bring him back to have Luke Skywalker in the Mandoverse. And yes, you are correct. But that's what they've been doing. The Book of Boba Fett, Luke Skywalker that we see, that's Mark Hamill. Now, granted, it's de-aged Mark Hamill with also the help of a lot of different technologies and cool little... It's not actually Mark Hamill, but he's on set. He's playing the role still. So is this him saying that there's going to be no more of that? That he's done doing those fun things with the Book of Boba Fett and with The Mandalorian Season 2? I hope not, because I really, really want some more Luke Skywalker in that time period specifically. When he's talking about the Rey movie, when he's talking about showing up as a Force ghost, it's like, okay, sure, yeah, it's already 15 years after the events of the sequel trilogy. You're getting a new Jedi Order. You're getting all this new. Luke Skywalker doesn't necessarily have to show up. It would be great to see him there, maybe to give some guiding words of wisdom, but I don't know if it's all that important. What we're focusing on here today, and we're going to talk about Book of Boba Fett Season 2 and some other things, but Luke Skywalker needs to be a very key and important piece to the story of the Mandoverse moving forward. Has to be. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't have a Mandoverse trilogy or even just 2 movies with Dave Filoni's movie and The Mandalorian and Grogu and not have Luke Skywalker be in it. Just can't do it. You can't have Grand Admiral Thrawn come to try and take over the entire universe and not have Luke Skywalker be in it. So when Mark Hamill says he's done, he's not going to play Luke in the Rey movie. He's not going to come back as a Force ghost. I certainly hope he's not also implying that he's not coming back to do the deep fake or the de-aging, whatever you want to call it, for Luke Skywalker in the Mandoverse. But with that being said, I got a super chat I'll get to in 1 second. With that being said, tell me in the chat, do you think we will ever see a Force ghost Luke Skywalker again in a post-sequel world? And do you think we will ever see Luke Skywalker again in the Mandoverse? Actually, I want to put up a poll in the chat. Let's do this. If you haven't smashed a freaking like on the stream yet, get on that, please. But let's get to this. Let's get to this. I got a super chat. I'll get to that in 1 second. Okay. Do you think we will see Luke Skywalker again? Yes or no? Actually, let's put this differently. Live action Luke Skywalker, because there's always the possibility that they just take this character and put him into animation, much like Anakin Skywalker. Hayden Christensen plays Anakin for just Attack of the Clones and just Revenge of the Sith. Recently, he's come back for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka, but that's besides the point. After that, after Revenge of the Sith, we get so much more of the character of Anakin in 7 seasons of the Clone Wars. But that's all in animation. So we could get a whole lot more of Luke Skywalker in animation if we're doing a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show that's going to be animated. But that won't be Mark Hamill. Unless they get him to voice the character, but then they'd still have to de-age his voice, and that would just be like, what's the point? So they would likely get a new actor to voice Luke Skywalker. So maybe that's what they're getting onto here. Luke Skywalker's character arc may be done in the movies in live action, but in the animation side of things, he's going to be around for a lot longer. Now, when we're talking about live action content on Disney Plus moving forward, because Tony Gilroy said streaming is dead, and we'll talk about that in a second, the likelihood of animation taking over the Disney Plus Star Wars world seems very likely right about now. Very likely. Because there is so many Star Wars movies in the works. You got Mandoverse movies. You got post-sequel movies. You got movies we don't even know about. You got Dawn of the Jedi stuff 25,000 years before. There's movies coming out of our ears all over the place. Is that even a saying? I don't think so. But there's movies everywhere. There's movies everywhere. So could it possibly be that the live-action portion of the Star Wars content is moving back to the big screen and no longer going to be on Disney Plus? And only on Disney Plus will there be animated projects? I don't like the sound of that. I don't like that at all. But that could be the reality of what we're looking at here. Yeah. Force Ghost Luke 100% in live action. Well, it would have to be in live action if you're going Force Ghost Luke. But yes. Darth Plagueis, let me get to your super chat really quickly here. Darth Plagueis with a very generous $10 holla. Holy crap. Says, need more Luke in Mando. Oh, Mandoverse, yes. Could not agree with you more. I think it's an absolute necessity to have Luke be involved in this Thrawn, Heir to the Empire story. But you also go on to say, but it keeps the weird Force Ghost formula going. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in Star Wars that aren't really explained, whether that be on purpose or not. And Force Ghosts are definitely one of them. Like, you got Yoda's species. That shouldn't be explained. Where Yoda comes from, that should remain a mystery. You got stuff like the World Between Worlds. Like, we know a little bit about the World Between Worlds, but not too much. It's not explained right in front of our faces. And that's a good thing, too. The Mortis gods are a very mysterious bunch. There's a lot of things that in Star Wars, they leave you asking questions. They leave you wanting more, and that's a good thing. However, Force Ghosts, they don't really have at least a canon explanation. Because in Legends, you have, like, in the Heir to the Empire trilogy, Obi-Wan pretty much says goodbye to Luke because the Force Ghost is just an extension of his life, and even that can come to an end. In canon, I feel like it's explained a little bit differently because it's the ability to live past death. It's the ability to not disappear into nothingness forever. So that definition almost seems like a Force ghost could live forever. And yet, after Return of the Jedi, we don't see Obi-Wan's Force ghost ever again. We don't see Anakin's Force ghost until Ahsoka's on Peridia in Ahsoka Season 1. And we don't see Yoda's Force ghost until The Last Jedi. And that's it. You would think when Luke Skywalker is starting up this brand new Jedi temple and he's trying to not have his nephew turn to the dark side and Palpatine has somehow returned, like you'd think that maybe they would be like, hey, Luke, hey, over here. Yeah, the blue Force ghost looking thing. Yeah, oh yeah, this is your father or your former master or your other former master. And be like, yeah, this is going on. You should probably watch out for that. But that doesn't happen. So Force ghosts in Star Wars are this mystery. Where did Obi-Wan Kenobi go? Why doesn't he come back and help Luke Skywalker build his Jedi temple? Why does Anakin not explain himself to Luke Skywalker? Why does Yoda just, never come back until he burns the sacred texts that weren't actually even there and he just tells Luke to forget about the old ways and why? Like, where are the Force ghosts at? And as Darth Plagueis says, this whole Luke Skywalker not showing up in the Rey movie might just be a continuation of that. Might just be Force ghosts, they just, they don't come around much. They just hang out on Andor or on Dagobah, and they don't really want to be friendly. They don't want to do anything. I don't know. The Force ghost thing is a very, very big old mystery in the Star Wars universe. And I think not only does it need to be explained quite a bit, but it needs to be explained. It definitely needs to be explained. 100%. Carry on. What's up? How we doing? So you guys tell me in the chat, do you think we will see Luke Skywalker's Force ghost in the Rey movie? And if so, will they be explaining how Force ghosts work? Because right about now, we don't know a damn thing about it. Not a damn thing. Because why wouldn't Obi-Wan help Luke Skywalker? Why wouldn't Yoda? Why wouldn't Anakin? Where were they? Honestly, Ahsoka Season 2 might give us a little bit of an explanation for that. Because Anakin showing up as a Force ghost on Peridia for the first time since Return of the Jedi, that's a little weird. What's going on there? Maybe Ahsoka Season 2 could give us a little bit of an insight into that, but I don't know. You guys tell me. You guys tell me. I appreciate that, Carry On. I really, really do. Mark Hamill is a Star Wars fan. He's been to countless comedy shows and interviews connected to Star Wars. He's been authentic throughout, yes. For him to suddenly say, I'm done, I don't buy that. Well, that's obviously another possibility here. That he's just lying straight to our face, and maybe even Luke Skywalker's going to show up next year. And he's already filmed it for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Or even better yet, he's filming right now for Ahsoka Season 2. And that's why, again, he can't say anything about it. That's a possibility. I mean, actors lie all the time. All the time! So I wouldn't be surprised if that could be what's going on here. Possibly. I don't think the Rey movie is filming or anywhere close to filming, so I don't know if he would have signed on or even been told about the Rey movie. His reaction seems very real here when he says, what? When he's asked about the Rey movie and he's like, what is that?
That's so cool. Mark, you're probably going to be asked this a bajillion times, but now that the Rey movie is official, would you be up for making an appearance as a Force ghost?
In what?
The Rey movie, it's a...
So either he's a really, really good actor, which he is, and he's playing it off like, what the hell's the Rey movie? And he secretly knows the whole time that he's going to be in the Rey movie, or he actually has no idea what the Rey movie is. And honestly, that makes more sense. As an actor, I'm sure he doesn't know everything that's going on in the Star Wars universe, so I'm sure he doesn't know what the Rey movie is. And that probably means that he's not going to be in it. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Just purely based off of that reaction. Probably not. Training to turn... Wait, what? Sorry. Maybe the Force Ghost decides to join the Cosmic Force after they've accomplished what they need to do as a Force Ghost. That's a possibility, but it still needs to be explained. And it wouldn't explain how all those different Jedi call out to Rey at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. As much as you maybe like or dislike The Rise of Skywalker, that still needs to be explained. Because all those Jedi, of that list, probably 3 of them, 4 of them, have actually learned to become a Force Ghost. The other ones haven't. Kanan Jarrus did not learn to become a Force Ghost. Who else talks to her? Mace Windu doesn't learn to become a Force Ghost. I think Aayla Secura even says something, doesn't learn to become a Force Ghost. So all these characters are still somehow living in the cosmic force and able to communicate to Rey at that moment. So even that needs to be explained. So I think the Rey movie actually might give us the opportunity to explain Force Ghosts and to explain what happened there. But even Ahsoka Season 2, like I mentioned before, could explain it with Anakin Skywalker, which would be even cooler. In my personal opinion. Yeah. And more to that point, if it was just that they have a objective to do as a Force Ghost and then they can just disappear, well then what was Obi-Wan's? To just bring Luke to Yoda? And why would Yoda's one goal just to be to show up in The Last Jedi 30 years after he dies and burn down the old Jedi Temple? You know? Yeah, no? You could have a non-Hamill Luke. Well, everybody's been asking recently, and this is definitely more evidence towards that, for a recast of the main trio. Luke, Leia, Han. If we're really going to get a lot more of these characters in this Mandoverse and beyond, if we're going to get to see a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, not in animation, should they recast the characters? Obviously, it would, I don't know if it would save a lot of money, but it would be a lot easier because you spend hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, hundreds if not thousands of hours to create these deep fakes of these characters. If you just had actors, you just brought in Sebastian Stan to play Luke Skywalker, well then it would be probably a lot easier. You guys know I'm not a big fan of the recast, especially with the original trio. I am not a fan of seeing somebody else play Luke Skywalker. That's just me. At the same time, I kind of like Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, but that's a way younger version of Han. Way, way, way younger. When I see Luke Skywalker or Han Solo in the original trilogy, and then I see him in the sequel trilogy, that's the same guy. So to put a different actor in the middle of those two stories would make it a little bit different. But tell me in the chat, are you team deepfake or team recast for the original trio? What do we think? If you were to say, Mike, look at it this way. You could get a continuation of Luke Skywalker's story in live action with way more Luke Skywalker, but you'd have to recast him as Sebastian Stan, or you could get a little bit more Luke Skywalker with a deepfake technology and set up an animated show about the fall of the New Republic, the rise of the First Order, whatever you want to call it, that time period. Honestly, I'd say animation. I would. Now, the reason for that is, first of all, animation in Star Wars, chef's kiss, masterpiece, almost all the time. You got the Clone Wars, you got the Bad Batch, you got Rebels, you got the Tales stories. And it's going to continue, hopefully, with the Maul series. So to give us a 5, 6, 7 season show about Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple that's animated, that's just like the Clone Wars. Huh. Sounds like a freaking dream. Sounds like a dream. Pinch me, I must be sleeping. But I get it. People love the live action stuff. Not everybody watches the animation stuff. I will say, me and Sam were watching the Clone Wars last night. We are one episode away from the Mortis arc. I am so excited. But what I forgot was the arc before Mortis is the Savage Opress arc, where Count Dooku has to discard Asajj Ventress, but she survives and then tries to assassinate him, fails, and then needs backup and gets Savage Opress. That's a great arc as well. But I sat there and I'm watching this and I'm going, Savage Opress, Asajj Ventress, Mother Talzin, these Night Sisters, this whole story. is brand new. Other than Count Dooku, there is no other characters attached to this certain arc in the Clone Wars that have anything to do with the prequel trilogy. And that's how cool the Clone Wars is. There is so many new characters, so many new planets and species and Night Sister type characters that are introduced in the Clone Wars that aren't in the prequel trilogy. And that is what the Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show could do for the time period of post-original trilogy, pre-sequel trilogy. Give us brand new characters, brand new planets, brand new all this stuff. I don't think they'll reveal like a species like the Night Sisters, but even still, it allows you to give you insane amount of new characters that you can fall in love with. Everybody loves Asajj Ventress. That's a very bold statement. Most people love Asajj Ventress. Most people love Ahsoka Tano. Most people love Captain frickin' Rex, and those are all brand new characters from the Clone Wars. The Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show would be able to do the same thing. And I don't think it would be able to do that in live action. Especially if you're getting Sebastian Stan, who's a big time actor now, and he cost a lot of money. But tell me what you think of the chat. Maz Kanata, please. I'd be down for that. So here we go. We got a bunch of recasts. We got a bunch of some deepfakes for sure. Mike gets it. Maybe. Maz Kanata needs to become a Jedi. Well, Maz Kanata's story, she needs to be more involved. If any character from the sequel trilogy needs more storytelling, it's Maz Kanata. She's 1,000 years old. 1,000 years old in the sequel trilogy, in The Force Awakens. So that character, who, by the way, just happens to have Luke Skywalker's lightsaber that fell on Bespin? On Bespin? That needs to be explained, but that's completely off topic, but I appreciate it. The recast worked for Bail Organa. Honestly, did it? Not for nothing. I love Benjamin Bratt, was his name? Benjamin Bratt. His performance as Bail was great. It's still weird. It's still weird. Like, it's 100% weird. We see Bail Organa just a couple years before in Kenobi. We see Bail Organa hours later, just a few hours later, on Yavin, and both of those characters are Jimmy Smits. But just a few hours before, just a few, he looks completely different as Benjamin Bratt. So although I loved the performance, in my head I can go, that's Bail Organa, but it's still weird. It's very weird. So I think the Bail Organa argument is actually the opposite. If they had the ability to get Jimmy Smits, it would have been a lot better. And they have the ability to use Mark Hamill. They have the ability to do this deepfake technology. So it would be a lot better. But that's just me. I kind of get the feeling that most Star Wars fans don't understand the difference between the cosmic force and the living force. It would be like a Christian not knowing about Jesus. Well, yes, obviously the living force is very different from the cosmic force, but the difference is not everybody knows how to become a Force ghost. And the explanation from canon to Legends is extremely different. Because, like I mentioned before, well, there's multiple explanations in Legends, but like I mentioned before, in the Heir to the Empire Legends story, Ben comes to Luke and says, I'm done. Like, I'm going into the cosmic force. I can't communicate with you anymore. This is over. I'm no longer a Force ghost. Bye-bye. And he leaves. And that's it. So that's not the same explanation we get in canon. And it honestly gets even crazier when you think about Qui-Gon Jinn appearing to Obi-Wan in the Kenobi series. Because Qui-Gon never finished the training. He never was able to appear physically as a Force ghost. And yet he does to Obi-Wan at the end of Kenobi. So a lot of explanation has to go down in terms of Force ghosts. Maybe Luke Skywalker showing up in the Rey movie would help with that. Maybe not. Anakin definitely showing up in Ahsoka Season 2 will help drastically, but we'll see. We shall see. All right, should we do it? All right, we're starting up a new poll. Okay. Do you think Actually, let's just go. Luke, Leia, and Han should be ... deep faked or recast. You tell me. Are you team deepfake or are you team recast? Okay. And by the way, do you think we'll see more of Luke Skywalker again in live action? 67% of you say yes. 32% say no. Math is not math in there. But even still, what do you think? Animation? No, this is... Yeah, a recast into animation is different. No, this is live action. The poll is live action. If you were to go into an animated role with Luke Skywalker, it would be a new character. Yes. Yeah. They crucified me on Twitter when I said the Bale recast was a miss. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's not that he's a miss, because Benjamin Bratt did a great job with the role he was given. It's just a hard thing to do because Jimmy Smits has always played Bail Organa, and he plays Bail Organa just a few hours after we see him in Andor Season 2. So when you go and watch Andor Season 2 and Rogue One back-to-back, as many people did, not for us crazy people like myself and you guys in the chat. Yes, you're all crazy. But to normie people, they're like, are these two different people? Are these the same guy? What's going on here? And obviously, we can, in our own heads, figure that out, but still. Yeah. Luke was recast in Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean, chat! You know what I mean! Yes, he's recast as a freaking baby in Revenge of the Sith and a 9-year-old kid in Kenobi. Obviously! I mean, in the Mandoverse. In the Mandoverse. Don't make me kill you.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay. I never thought I'd see the day. We have the tech. Let's use it. I never thought I'd see the day. We have the tech. Let's use it. That's what ILM does. They push the boundaries of tech. Exactly. Let's put it this way. If George Lucas was still in charge, as many fans wants to happen, I certainly think he'd be doing deepfakes all over the place. We're talking about the guy who went back 20 years or less than 20 years after he released the original trilogy and added scenes with CGI. You don't think with any chance possible, he'd be bringing back Luke, Leia, and Han using this new revolutionary deepfake technology? That's what he does. That's what ILM does. That's what Lucasfilm does. The volume, green screen, blue screen technology, all these brand new innovations in the movie business, that's them. So I completely agree with that. Anthony says, Mike, I'm absolutely team deepfake. It will completely take me out of the experience if I saw 3 brand new actors playing the iconic characters. Yes, Brandon Bratt was good, but it was jarring. Exactly. I'm not saying anything against Bail Organa or Benjamin Bratt in Andor Season 2, because Andor Season 2 is a freaking masterpiece. But it is a little jarring, and if you were to give us a new actor or actress for Luke, Leia, and Han, that would take me... It might not take me completely out of it, but it would be weird. Especially when you have the deepfake technology that works. Because even Tarkin and Leia, both in Rogue One, which, by the way, was 9 years ago, they both look incredible. And it still holds up today. And that was 9 years ago. Right now, technology is getting 1,000 times better every week. So, yeah, that's my take on it. I didn't even think we'd be talking about the deepfake or recast argument today. I don't know how we got here, but that's why we stream. That's why we stream. Every stream has a different outcome. Bail Organa is weird as he sounds, looks, and acts completely different from Jimmy Smits. Yes, like his voice sounds different, but he he conveys Bail Organa pretty well. Like in the Senate, he does. Yeah. Indeed. Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan and A New Hope Obi-Wan taught some Alec Guinness age/look, but time is a great healer for recasts. Always something to think about. True, but the difference again there with the Han Solo recast, the Obi-Wan Kenobi recast, that's a 30 or 20, 30 year difference. This is a way younger version of the character. So, and obviously deepfake technology wasn't around in 1999. So the ability to do that wasn't around, and they found an actor, Ewan McGregor, and they purposefully used that actor because they did the best they could to find an actor that looked like Alec Guinness when you aged him up. If you watch some behind-the-scenes stuff for Revenge of the Sith specifically, when they're doing the style of Obi-Wan, they're really looking at pictures of Alec Guinness to try and get it as close as possible because that's how close they thought it was going to be. 19 years was the difference there. Yeah. True. Let us put an image of Mark Hamill's angry, old, late Luke Skywalker on an AI image. In an AI? What? What are you talking about? I used to hate how often they'd recast on various TV shows and movies years ago. It was a very immersive breaking thing. I was glad they seemed to back away from that recently. Yeah, well, the problem, too, from a business perspective, looking at it from Lucasfilm's perspective, is they tried to deepfake they tried to recast, what am I to say? Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, with the Solo movie, and the Solo movie bombed. It lost money. The first ever Star Wars movie to lose money. And that actually made them retool the whole future of Star Wars content after that because they looked at it and went, okay, people didn't like that. People didn't like us recasting iconic characters, so we're never going to do that again. When we do Luke Skywalker, we're going to deepfake him. When we do Leia, we'll deepfake her. So, honestly, I still think Lucasfilm is thinking that way. They're thinking, Han Solo bombed because we recasted him, so we're never doing that again. Yeah. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, in Obi-Wan, is a mix of both portrayals of the character. Oh, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Yes. You can see that because his voice is actually slightly different. And I thought that was just Ewan McGregor forgetting how to talk like Obi-Wan, but they did that on purpose because it is the bridge between the prequels Obi-Wan and the originals Obi-Wan. Because there's a lot of differences between those characters. And the Obi-Wan Kenobi series actually bridges that perfectly. Yeah. What if once Jimmy Smits becomes available, they reshoot and add him into Andor Season 2? I mean, no. They had 2.5 years to do it. If they couldn't get him on, they couldn't get him on. Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Solo had a lot more than just recasting characters. That wasn't the main issue. They obviously just released right after Infinity War, which clearly hurt. And it was the release after The Last Jedi, which left a bad taste in some Star Wars fans' mouths. So, yes, there was a lot going on with Solo to make it bomb the way that it did. I think Solo's a great movie. But, yeah, there's a lot more than just recasts, but still. Okay. I knew somebody would bring it up. Baylan Skoll is being recast in Ahsoka Season 2. And you'd be like, Mike, I thought you'd love that. I do love that. I think Rory McCann is going to do a great job as Baylan Skoll. Now, there's a very different thing going on here, though. Baylan Skoll, as much as I love the guy, he's not Luke Skywalker. He's not he's not Princess Leia. We're talking about two completely different things here. Baylan Skoll is a side character in a spin-off show. And that character was left standing on cliffs of Mortis gods and needed an extension of that character. So recasting him is very different than recasting Luke Skywalker. But I will say, I am on board the Bale and Skull bandwagon. Yeah. Legacy characters recast versus actors death recast are two very different things. Exactly. Ray Stevenson sadly passes away. That's different. Now, it's kind of similar because Carrie Fisher sadly passes away. We're talking a way younger version of the character. It's pretty hard because doing Harrison Ford de-aged, doing Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill de-aged is very different from doing Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher is not with us anymore, and the other two are. So you have to get through the family and all that stuff, which I'm sure they'll be okay with, but it's still just very different. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think if Rogue One was a bomb, Solo... Wait, what? Do you think Rogue One would have bombed if Solo swapped out of its place in 2016 and Rogue One was in 2018? No. Rogue One's a masterpiece, and it doesn't matter when you release that, it's still a masterpiece. Having watched Rogue One now twice since Andor Season 2 has ended, it might be, it definitely is my second favorite Star Wars movie of all time. Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. So, to put a pin in this, Mark Hamill says he is not going to be in the Rey movie as a Force Ghost. His time with Star Wars is done. He loved his time, but it's time for new characters. It's time for all the new. And Mark Hamill is done with Star Wars. Will we see him as Luke Skywalker in the Mandoverse again? Probably. Could he possibly be lying this whole time and he's really going to become a Force Ghost or be a Force Ghost in the Rey movie? Maybe. But that's the news, and that's what we have to take out of it. Now, I will, let's read this really quickly because they do talk about the possibility, you know. Let's do this. Let's read this real quick. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Mark Hamill rules out doing any more Star Wars. Don't expect to see Luke Skywalker in anything upcoming films Lucasfilm has planned, even as a spectral Force ghost. The 73-year-old actor, he's 73 now? Wow. Who has appeared in, well, first of all, he's looking great for 73, but who has appeared in 5 live-action Star Wars films. 5? Pretty sure it's 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 6. And made de-aged cameos in the Mandalorian TV series and the Book of Boba Fett, suggested that Skywalker's run is over, or at least it should be over. And we watched this already, but I'm so grateful to the creator, George Lucas, for letting me be a part of that back in the day, in the humble days where George Lucas called it the most... We already read that. We never expected it to become a permanent franchise and a part of pop culture like that. But my deal is, I had my time, I appreciate the time, but I really think it's time to focus on the future of all these new characters. And then, by the way, I disappeared in The Last Jedi. I left my robes behind. There's no way I'm appearing as a naked Force Ghost. And what the hell? And honestly, this might be more evidence to suggest that he's lying to us because he appears as a Force Ghost in The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. The comments come despite Lucasfilm developing a film that would be an obvious project for Skywalker to appear. A Rise of Skywalker follow-up focused on Daisy Ridley's Rey, who was Skywalker's mentee? Is that mentor, mentee? I guess. In the sequel trilogy. The film from director Sharmila Bed-Chinoy picks up roughly 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker and follows Rey's efforts to build a new Jedi Order. The new Jedi Order film is only in development, however, along with many other titles. Lucasfilm chief Kathleen Kennedy previously teased at the film, saying, "We are 15 years out from The Rise of Skywalker. So we are post-war, post-First Order, and the Jedi are in disarray. And there's a lot of discussion around who are the Jedi and what are they doing? What is the state of the galaxy and Rey's attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order based on the books, the sacred texts, based on what she promised Luke." So that's where we are going. That's really the only premise and description that we have of the Rey movie to date. And with that, it doesn't seem like Luke Skywalker is going to be showing up in that. But let's keep going. The next confirmed Star Wars title is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, coming May 22nd, 2026, followed a year later by Star Wars Starfighter from Sean Levy and starring Ryan Gosling. So tell me in the chat, on a percentage scale to 100, I guess, because 100% means 100% and 0 means 0%. What are the chances that Luke Skywalker, younger version of course, would show up in The Mandalorian and Grogu? What is the percent chance that you give Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian and Grogu movie next year on May 22nd? I'd say it's pretty low. I'd say it's pretty damn low. I'm all about recasting Elizabeth as Leia, Clea to Leia. It would be, it could even joke about the resemblance. Well, as much as that was a crazy fan theory at the time during Andor Season 2, I think that's a horrible idea. I love a good crazy theory, but that's a horrible idea. Making Clea Leia, it wouldn't even make sense because Leia's backstory is she goes to grow up with Bail Organa, and that would change the entire backstory of the character. 90%? You think there's a 90% chance that Luke Skywalker shows up in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? Wow. 0%? Okay. 0%. Luke is 100% not in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. 50%? Okay. 10%? 66%? Nice. 50-50? Okay. No to Luke in the Mandalorian and Grogu? Okay. Trust me, bro, Luke is not in the movie. I love a good trust me, bro, Star Wars Santa. I don't think Luke will be in this movie. I really don't. I think the percentage chance is probably like 20 at most. Like it's really, really low. We're talking The Mandalorian and Grogu has a lot to accomplish. A lot. If they're going to bring in Luke, Leia, and Han at some point, it won't be till later on in this possible Mando trilogy. It would probably be in Dave Filoni's movie or maybe even further down the line. The Mandalorian and Grogu's purpose is to set up the Heir to the Empire, is to set up this bigger event happening in Ahsoka Season 2 and in Dave Filoni's movie. It obviously has to tell its own story with Din and Grogu. And maybe even Din Djarin comes to his ultimate demise, but maybe not. But I really think it is low. I think the chances of seeing him in this series are very, very low. Now let me ask a follow-up question. What is the percent chance that Luke Skywalker shows up in Ahsoka Season 2? The last time we saw this character was in the Book of Boba Fett. And in that episode, he has a conversation with Ahsoka Tano. And I believe, I got to rewatch this episode now because I can't remember. When she leaves, doesn't she say like, I'll see you around or something like that? What does she say? What does she say? She says something along the lines of, oh no, Luke says, will I ever see you again? And what does Ahsoka say to that? I'm not too sure. But I will say the likelihood of seeing Luke Skywalker in Ahsoka Season 2 is way more likely than in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Do I think it will happen? I don't know. It'd probably be about like 50-50. If you're giving us Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker in Ahsoka Season 2, that would just be insane. Plus, I don't even think that Ahsoka's going to be returning to the main galaxy by the end of Ahsoka Season 2, but only time will tell. With Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, I actually think it's more likely that Ezra Bridger goes there, or even Jason Syndulla. Because Jason Syndulla could be one of Luke's apprentices, especially if he's Force sensitive. But I'd rather see Ezra train him than Luke, but that's besides the point. Yeah. But what does Ahsoka say to Luke when he says, will I ever see you again? Oh, she says, perhaps? Oh, my. We need those two on the screen again together. We need it. We need it. Perhaps. Okay, let's keep reading. Regarding Mark Hamill's joking comment about leaving the robes behind, he and the late Carrie Fisher appear as Force ghosts at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, and he indeed was not naked. The hardcore Star Wars fans will counter that in 1977's A New Hope, when Darth Vader kills Obi-Wan Kenobi, his robes were left behind, but Alec Guinness still appears in his robes when he shows up as a Force ghost in The Empire Strikes Back and in Return of the Jedi. Mark Hamill's career has been busier than ever in these last few years. The Life of Chuck is a sci-fi adaptation of Stephen King's story. From Mark Hamill's The Fall of the House of Usher, filmmaker Mike Flanagan this month. I haven't heard of any of these, sorry. He also will be, okay, yeah. So, we do have to move on to some other news we got going on here. So let's put a pin in this. Let's put an end to this discussion. Do you think we will ever see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker again? Yes or no? Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker again, yes or no? In live action. I'm leaning a lot more towards yes still. Even after him saying all this stuff, I'm still leaning more towards yes. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. How do I get the lightsaber by my name? How do I get the lightsaber by my name? Oh, you got to become a member. Okay, so I was very confused by that comment. You got to become a member. So if you're not yet a member, there's a link in the description below to become a member of the People Who Love Star Wars. There's actually 2 links in the description below. One goes to a Discord called the People Who Love Star Wars. We just did our giveaway last stream because it was the end of the month. We do giveaways at the end of every month for members, and Skywalker Academy won that giveaway, so that's on its way to him. It was a Ahsoka clone helmet, which was awesome. So that's on its way. And we do giveaways at the end of every month for members. So, yeah. There you go. Okay. Let's see. No, yes, yes. Definitely yes. Kind of. No, I hope not. Okay. Doubtful. Of course we will. Okay. Yes. Take it back. Throw enough money and he'll say yes. Possibly. Yes, we're definitely going to see Marcus live action Luke, possibly as a Force, or probably as a Force ghost, though. Yeah. When Ben Kenobi dies in A New Hope, he lost his blankie? What? Okay. He's already in the Mandoverse as a high role. Of course, we'll see him again. Yeah, I feel like you can't really tell the story of the Heir to the Empire. You can't tell this future story of Grand Admiral Thrawn coming in and taking over the galaxy without Luke Skywalker. So yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. The future is hard to see. That's also true. I just realized that your username is that Dave that loves Star Wars, and that I appreciate that. That's incredible. That's a great username. Jack Robbins, what's up? Jack says, I didn't like the deepfake for Luke in Mando. I didn't like it at all. Really? I still think the deepfake in Mando Season 2 holds up, but I will agree with you that the deepfake in the Book of Boba Fett is far better. Like, so much better. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about something else now. I got 2 things I want to talk about. One, what Tony Gilroy said about streaming being dead. Or 2, this wild retcon that fans really, really want. So which one should we talk about first? Retcon or streaming is dead? You tell me in the chat, and we'll move on from there. Okay, streaming first. How do I get to the description of a video? So if you close out the chat, like swipe down on the chat, then it'd be a lot easier if I just showed you. Okay, so if you come to the live stream, quick little tutorial here. Quick little tutorial here. Oh my God, it's me. Hey Mike, how you doing? Tutorial here. Oh my God, it's me. Hey Mike, how you doing? Tutorial here. Oh my God, it's me. That got way too creepy really fast. Okay. So you gotta come scroll down here, and then this description right there, and then in the description you got this great thing that I write a description for every video that nobody ever reads. But that's okay. You can become a member here at this link or join the Discord at that link. And yeah, there you have it. And we do have a new member. Okay, hang on. The Dave that loves Star Wars. Welcome to the People Who Welcome to the people who love Star Wars, the Dave that loves Star Wars. I appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, membership, super chats keep the lights on over here, so I appreciate it. But, shit. Okay, let's, get rid of that guy. No spamming in the chat, of course. I appreciate it, Brandon. Okay. Brandon's getting his money's worth today. So what do we decide, chat? What are we doing first? Streaming first? Streaming lives. Okay, let's do the streaming thing first. So Tony Gilroy talks more about Andor Season 2 and brings up the fact that streaming is dead. Somebody at Disney told him that. So with the future of streaming on the line, with the future of all this stuff that we hold near and dear, from The Mandalorian to Ahsoka to Andor to Kenobi to the Acolyte to Skeleton Crew to all in between, the Book of Boba Fett, all those live-action Star Wars shows, they may be in jeopardy. We may never get a Season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett or Skeleton Crew or any of it because streaming is dead. Let's read it. Star Wars Andor creator fought hard for that $650 million budget after Disney declared streaming is dead. All right. Tony Gilroy, creator of critically acclaimed Star Wars series Andor, has said that he had to fight hard.
This is where the fun begins.
Okay. Had to fight hard for the show's second season budget after being told that by Disney that streaming is dead. So this is before Andor Season 2 was even really a thing, or at least really in development yet, because his budget was going to be taken down and he had to fight hard to keep it that high because at that time, over 2 years ago, they said streaming is dead. Let's keep going. Speaking with ATX Television Festival, thanks to IndieWire, Tony Gilroy confirmed that Andor costs an eye-watering $650 million. Now, here's the deal. We hear this number right now, and because Andor Season 1 and Season 2 were so freaking good, we go, yeah, who cares? Spend more money if you have to. If you're going to give us that great content, just keep on spending more money. Just keep it coming. But if Andor was not good, even if it was mid, if Andor was not good at all, this would be like headlines everywhere. The Andor Season 2 cost over $300 million. The whole show cost nearly $1 billion. Star Wars is dead. That's what would happen. But because Andor Season 2 is so good, people see this number and we celebrate. Yes, spend more money. Give more awesomeness. Yeah. That's more than any of the recent Star Wars sequel trilogy movies and double the budget of The Last Jedi. Now, the reasoning for that, of course, is that Andor, a single season of Andor, is pretty much 4 movies. It's the quadrilogy, as we watched with Andor Season 2. The quadrilogy. And it's pretty much the budget. It should be more, honestly, because if you're making 4 movies, it should be 4 times the budget of a movie. But it was double The Last Jedi. Still, Tony Gilroy said that Disney had ultimately paid and agreed to fund Andor's equally expensive second season, despite the show's lower viewership the lower viewership than Disney Plus's hit The Mandalorian. The wider concerns about the ongoing profits of high-cost projects designed by Disney Plus after the spat of costly but disappointing Marvel series. So this is the real reason. We're not going to sit here and talk about how Star Wars is struggling on Disney Plus. It's not. The Mandalorian is a massive success. Even though Andor's numbers are down, it's still a huge success because of how good it is. Even shows like Skeleton Crew that don't have the numbers, they're still very, very good in quality and in story writing. On the Marvel side, however, Marvel has never really been close to the numbers of the Star Wars projects. Now, some of the lower Star Wars projects are along the same lines as the Marvel ones on Disney Plus, but in terms of The Mandalorian versus anybody else, it's not even close. So Marvel has never really gotten that success on Disney Plus that Star Wars has. However, they've had some big old swings and misses, like enormous swings and misses. You have stuff like She-Hulk or Secret Invasion or Echo or like so many projects. And when Disney looks at that, they go, okay, it's not working. Whatever we're doing with Disney Plus content for Star Wars and Marvel, because they kind of just clump those two together, it's not working. Sadly. Because those are clearly two very different companies in completely different situations. But with that being said, the budget for these shows has gone way down. So Tony Gilroy had this to say. For Disney, this is a $650 million. Tony Gilroy said, going on to emphasize the fact that Disney had been hands off when it came to Andor's content. Indeed, the show includes the kind of things that you don't normally see or hear in a Star Wars project, such as discussions of that stuff, because we can't talk about that on here. For 24 episodes, I never took a single note. That's crazy. I never took a single note. Tony Gilroy continued. Though, noting the one time Andor did make a change. Oh, yeah, because at the end of season 1, Marva was supposed to say, F the Empire instead of fight the Empire. And that was sort of the one change that was requested. Yeah. In season 2, Disney said that streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before. So we fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. That freedom comes with responsibilities. So pretty much at the time, the budget for Disney Plus shows, live action Disney Plus shows, was going way, way down. And he had to fight to keep that budget up for Andor season 2. So now when we look to the future of Star Wars Disney Plus shows or live action content, well, we're going to be getting a lot less. Maybe none at all. Because when you look at the future content, the only one that exists is Ahsoka season 2 for live action shows. Yes, you have animated stuff like Visions, like the Maul series, more what's it called? Galaxies, Rebuild the Galaxy, more of that animated stuff. But live action, it's Ahsoka season 2, and that's it. There may be a big old reworking going on at Lucasfilm right now for anything, or Disney right now, for anything live action on Disney Plus. The cost is not worth it, seemingly. And although they did just spend over $500 million on Andor, which the viewership wise, it's definitely not worth it. It seems like they're going to go away from that. Sadly. Because when we get so much great Star Wars content on Disney Plus, live action Star Wars content on Disney Plus, you want more. From a business perspective, it doesn't make sense to keep making more when it's not making you any money. Clearly. But tell me in the chat, do you think we're going to get this sort of slow down of Disney Plus live action Star Wars content? Now, there's also the other aspect of this that there's a bunch of movies coming around. There's over 10 plus movies currently and in different spots of development for Star Wars. So for the next foreseeable future, we're going to be getting a Star Wars movie a year. And that will definitely take an impact on the live action Star Wars content we're getting on Disney Plus. But will it stop? Will it completely come to a halt after Ahsoka season 2? And will we not get any more live action Star Wars on Disney Plus? Tell me in the chat. And while you do, I do have to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. I usually don't have to, but I drank a lot of water before this live stream, so I'll be right back. I'm back. Okay. Where were we? So, as I was saying, the future of Star Wars live-action content on Disney Plus is in crazy jeopardy after Tony Gilroy tells us pretty much that Lucasfilm was telling him that streaming is dead. And Andor Season 2 is probably one of the last big old projects because there's no other Star Wars show ever that's probably going to receive the funding of a $500 million when it's not making any money back. That's the issue. So tell me in the chat, do you think this is it? Do you think this is it for live action Star Wars content? Actually, I want to put up a poll. Let's do this. Let's put up a poll. Nice haircut, by the way. I appreciate that. I didn't get a haircut, but I appreciate it. All right, let's put up a poll. Do you think live action Star Wars is done after Ahsoka Season 2? Yes or no? Yes or no? What do we think? And by the way, can we get some good cups full of orders in the chat, please? Bumpa! Just some more. But residuals don't mean anything. If the writing is crap, the thing that you wrote, you have to get into the characters' heads, their voices, their motivations, emotions, etc. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Andor is going to continually keep people owning a Disney Plus membership. Not only for rewatches, but first-time watches and all that other great stuff. So, I mean, will it eventually make that money back? Probably. Somehow. With memberships over the course of forever. But, I don't know. It's very hard to do. Yes, sort of. We'll probably get new live-action Star Wars content eventually, but not right away. Interesting. So you think they'll take a break from live-action Disney content? I think it'll be, less shows. Exactly. I think it'll be less shows to not only incorporate the movies that they're going to be making, but also because it costs a lot of money, and it's just not the best option. So I think we'll be getting not the 2-3 live-action Disney Plus shows that we've been getting over the course of the last 6 years. It'll probably be one, or maybe even one every other year. Oh my God. Oh, whose idea was that? Okay. Where was I? I just blacked out for a second there, Chad. What was going on? Holy crap. What the hell just happened? Oh. Okay. Where was I? This thing sits in front of me every day. I'm like, should I turn to the dark side? Should I not turn to the dark side? What's the idea? Adam, what's up? Okay, so I completely lost our train of thought, chat. What were we saying? Oh, we were talking about the Bad Batch, right? No, what were we talking about? So the future of live-action Star Wars content on Disney Plus is definitely in jeopardy. That's for damn sure. We're not going to be seeing the amount of content we've been receiving for the last half a decade on Disney Plus. It's just not going to remain the same. It's just not. So what that looks like, I don't know. The possibility of seeing season 2s of shows like Kenobi or The Acolyte or Skeleton Crew or the Book of Boba Fett are probably way less likely. However, we do have to talk about the Book of Boba Fett season 2 for a second here. Of those shows that I just listed off, probably the best one to get a season 2 would be the Book of Boba Fett. Now tell me in the chat if you disagree with that. I think The Acolyte's probably the best one, but what are you going to do? The Book of Boba Fett has the most possibilities for a second season. With the underworld of Star Wars, the characters that exist at the time, you could bring back Mace Windu. You could have it be Han Solo versus Boba Fett, which would be insane. Or you could just do the Kira stuff with the Crimson Dawn or whatever you want to do. There's so many opportunities with the Book of Boba Fett season 2. So tell me in the chat, do you want a Book of Boba Fett season 2? Yes or no? You tell me in the chat. And while you do so, let's talk about this. From Disney Star Wars to Karate Kid, Ming-Na Wen. Yeah, that's right. There's more to this than just her saying that she's not going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. So, get to the good stuff here. Yeah, if you didn't know, she was the voice in Mulan, but let's see. Okay. Nobody puts Fennec in a corner. Here we go. Here we go. Where the hell is this? Okay, this is the background. We're looking for a future here. We're looking for the future. Okay, this is not what I was looking for. Let's go to the thing that I was looking for. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So, this is what she had to say about Boba Fett Season 2 and her meeting with Tamara Morrison. I was so nervous to meet Tamara Morrison. I mean, he's the OG of this iconic role. When I first met him, well, not necessarily, but yes. When I first met him, he seemed so serious. I felt a little intimidated. Then only when we started really getting into it, I discovered that he's this little rascal behind the mask, and I absolutely loved him. Tamara Morrison brings the party with him wherever he goes. He brings the music. He brings his New Zealand tribal dances and all of his energy. I just adore him. He is one of the best things. That's why I want a Book of Boba Fett Season 2 just to hang out with him more. So, fans now, since Boba Fett Season 1, I guess, ended, have been asking for a Season 2. Whether it's to fix the character of Boba Fett for a lot of people, to make him more badass, I guess, or to just tell more stories with Boba Fett, Fennec in the underworld of Star Wars. Either way, tell me in the chat, do you want a Book of Boba Fett Season 2? Clearly, Ming-Na Wen's up for it to come back as Fennec Shand. I'm sure Tamara Morrison's very up for it because we haven't seen these characters in over 3 years. They're going to be involved in this Mandoverse saga or this trilogy, whatever you want to call it. They will be involved in this story one way or another, whether it's to help take down Grand Admiral Thrawn, to help Din Djarin out on some side mission, whatever it is. They'll probably be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but if they're not, they'll be in Dave Filoni's movie or something else. They will be involved. They're setting up this whole Mandoverse to come together in an Avengers Endgame type event to take down Grand Admiral Thrawn. Fennec will be there. Boba Fett will be there. The Vespa gang will probably be there. Chrysanthemum will be there. And probably Cobb Vanth too. Those Tatooine dwellers. But maybe the Vespa gang will all meet a devastating end to Grand Admiral Thrawn. But with the hopes being kept alive by Ming-Na Wen, do you want a Book of Boba Fett Season 2? And if so, what would it be about? What would you do for Boba Fett Season 2? Would you bring back Mace? Because that would be pretty hard to do. But would you bring back Mace? Would you have Han Solo versus Boba Fett and have to deepfake Han Solo? Or maybe even bring back Alden Ehrenreich, which I don't personally think is a great idea. But what would you do? What would you do? The issues with Book of Boba Fett Season 2 would be that fans' expectations versus reality. They wouldn't make the show the way that people think. Well, that's sort of the problem with Season 1. Is fans' expectation for Season 1 was badass Boba all the time. and that wasn't the case. A lot of that is because Boba Fett is such a mysterious character. He's much like Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. Darth Maul has 3 lines. I believe Boba Fett only has 4. Somebody fact check me in the chat. How many lines does Boba Fett have in the original trilogy? I think it's 4, but tell me in the chat. So he only has a few lines. He has a mask on, so you don't even see his face. He's a very mysterious character. He really doesn't do much at all, except for walk in the room in The Empire Strikes Back, take Han's body from frozen carbonite, and fall into a Sarlacc pit. That's it. So this badass Boba character that people have grown to love really comes from legends and just fan stuff and fan theories and years of just this mysterious character behind a mask. And when he shows up in The Mandalorian Season 2, he's badass. He's smashing stormtroopers' helmets off. He's doing all this crazy cool stuff. So when the Book of Boba Fett show was announced, people were hoping for more of that. More of the badassery that they know and love and that they conjured up in their head for the 40 years that we haven't seen this character. And that wasn't the reality. That wasn't what happened. He was a ruler. He used other people to do his bidding. He wasn't the Boba Fett that we knew. Yeah. So obviously that comes from falling into the Sarlacc pit, having a near-death experience, living 5 years in the desert with the Tusken Raiders, then becoming your family, and then wanting to rule over Tatooine and rule with respect. That's a whole nother thing. But it wasn't what people expected. It wasn't what people wanted. So yeah, absolutely. Season 2 would probably go down the same route. People would be like, okay, they're making Season 2 to make him more badass. Probably not. Yes, he'll have some probably badass fight scenes like he does in Season 1, but it's probably not going to be the way that people think. And that's going to be an issue. Because he does take down Cad Bane and it's badass. Him and Din Djarin floating around in their jetpacks, taking down pikes. It's badass. It's awesome. But it's not enough. Him gunning down those people who killed the Tusken Raiders in his Slave One, badass. But not enough. Taking down the Sarlacc pit with a seismic charge, badass. But not enough. So Season 2 is probably going to be met with the same reaction from the Star Wars fandom if it ever does happen. What do we think? Should we pull this up? Let's pull it up. Why not? This is the stream of polls. I'd make Season 2 about the war between the crime syndicates, the crime syndicates and the pirate nation. Interesting. You could have the Black Sun and along with some artifacts, treasures, discoveries, and Omega be in the mix. Well, if you're going to do that with the pirate nation, then you can really connect it to characters from Skeleton Crew. Now, Brutus is dead, and Jod, I guess, is a prisoner, I guess? Maybe he's not. But, so I guess the pirates are kind of in shambles. But you could tie it into AT-AT, and you could tie it into Skeleton Crew, and maybe a Season 2 of Boba Fett could bring this whole story together. That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. Boba Fett had to be different from Mando and was already using the Boba Fett bounty hunter sort of analog. True. You can't have 2 bounty hunting shows. Yes, but it makes sense the story that Boba Fett gets. After he crawls out of the Sarlacc pit, he's pretty much dead or almost dead. What happens then? The only logical explanation would be that somebody comes along and saves him. It could be anybody in the galaxy, but it makes sense for it to be Tusken Raiders because that's the people of the sand dunes of Tatooine. So the Tusken Raiders save him. Well, then what happens? And that's the story of Boba Fett. Like it writes itself pretty well, but it's not what people really wanted, I guess. Yeah. Expectations versus reality is pretty much the name of the game when it comes to the Star Wars fandom since Disney has acquired it. It's nothing new. Well, it's been nothing new forever. Not since Disney acquired it. The prequel trilogy is the prime example. The prequel trilogy is fans' expectations were that it would be more of the original trilogy. And it was not. The reality is that it's not. And that reality was shocking to some and a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one to others. So, yeah. CG, what's up? How we doing? I love the Book of Boba Fett. Saw it twice. It was wacky. It was fun. I like variety in my Star Wars. I'm a big fan of the Book of Boba Fett. I know it gets a lot of crap online, but I still think that From the Desert Comes a Stranger episode is a top 3 episode of live action Star Wars content. Maybe top 5 now with Andor Season 2 being thrown into the mix. It was a top 3 before Andor Season 2. Let's put it that way. Because episodes 8 and 9 of Andor Season 2 are definitely top 3. So that would bump From the Desert Comes a Stranger down. But top 5. Top 5 easily. And just because it's in the Book of Boba Fett doesn't mean anything. It's in that show. Even though Boba Fett's barely in the episode, it's still the Book of Boba Fett. The finale's pretty solid. The episode before that with the M1 Starfighter is great. Parts of the first couple episodes are good too. So, yeah. Underrated. That's what it is. Senator Palpatine is innocent? No. Even Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi got flack from certain fans and critics back in the day. People crap on stuff constantly. It's what people do. Yeah, I mean, you're never going to release a project in any genre, in any world, in any fandom that's not going to be met with backlash, especially the Star Wars fandom. When you have billions of Star Wars fans across the world, there's going to be people who find issue with any content that you release. So it's about pleasing the majority, but you're never going to please everybody. Ever. That's clear. Yeah. I loved it too. I loved Kenobi as well, but I saw the flaws and I still want more. Yeah, I want more of both of those shows. I want more of every show right now that doesn't have a second season. The Acolyte, definitely, just the way it ended season 1. Skeleton Crew, definitely want to see more of those characters. Probably not in a season 2. They'll probably show up in other projects, but even still, I'd take a season 2 of that. Book of Boba Fett, definitely. Kenobi, definitely. There'd need to be the right story, but definitely. Yeah. As much as I want Star Wars Legends to be canon, I don't know if that will happen because it would mean that they would have to retcon the sequels, and I don't think they will. It's not that they'd have to retcon the sequels. They'd have to retcon so many things, and you'd bring in Legends stuff that just is way too crazy and powerful that it wouldn't fit into the canon. That's why Star Wars Legends will never be canon. Certain aspects of Legends can be brought into canon, but that's very, very different. Starkiller will never be canon because he's too powerful. Certain Force abilities and things will not be brought into canon because they're way too powerful. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. Canon is what you want it to be. Well, head canon is what you want it to be, yes. The canon of Star Wars is what Lucasfilm deems it to be, but your head canon can be whatever you want. So yeah, if you want like Darth Plagueis, the novel Darth Plagueis, to be canon, then it is in your own head. If you want the sequels to not be canon or whatever you want in your own head, that's perfectly fine. But the canon of Star Wars is the canon of Star Wars. We need the Acolyte Season 2. Write that down. So somebody write that down. Write that down. We definitely need the Acolyte Season 2. The Acolyte got some backlash a couple days ago. Was it yesterday? Today? I do have an article about the Acolyte, but we'll save that. We'll save it. Trying to not ruffle too many feathers. Okay, let's talk about this though before we get to the next thing here. Yeah, before we get to the retcons, let's talk about this. So Tony Gilroy, everybody wants him to be in charge of Star Wars or do more Star Wars or whatever. This is the best news that Star Wars fans have heard in a while. Tony Gilroy does not rule out making another Star Wars project. Never say never. But I want to direct again, just not right now. So the possibility of seeing Tony Gilroy back in Star Wars, it's probably pretty low, but never say never. Never say never. Okay, let's go back to the retcon. So there's this crazy retcon that people are trying to get to happen. Now, retcons in Star Wars have happened before. I mean, they happen all across the original trilogy as they released, but that's besides the point. Luke and Leia being siblings. He kissed his sister. What? No. So
I got a bad feeling about this.
retcons in recent past have been brought up time and time again. Luke Skywalker having Yoda's lightsaber in the Book of Boba Fett Season 1. That's technically a retcon because in a canon comic that was released, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or something, Masamita, when he's throwing all the lightsabers into a pile on Coruscant to say that the Jedi are gone and the Jedi are dead, this is right after Order 66, has Yoda's lightsaber and throws it into this big old pile of burning lightsabers. So that lightsaber should be destroyed. It should be gone forever. So Luke Skywalker couldn't have that lightsaber in the Book of Boba Fett. However, he does. It's a retcon. Does it really matter that much when they're retconning a comic? Well, that's where things get interesting. Because this argument is being had online right now. Because there's one specific thing that fans want to be retconned, and I honestly wouldn't mind it at all. But here's the reality. Should things be retconned? That's the question. So first things first, tell me in the chat. Are you okay with stuff like that being retconned? Are you okay with Luke Skywalker having Yoda's lightsaber and offering it to Grogu? Or, like this is about to say here, the retcon of The Bad Batch Episode 1 showing Kanan Jarrus's Order 66 experience versus the canon novel about Kanan that changed that experience. Take a look at this. Fans have theorized that Cassian and Bix's child could be Poe Dameron. But Poe's parents have already been established in canon as Shara Bay and Kez Dameron in the comics. Comics have been retconned in the past, such as canons in The Bad Batch. But this seems unlikely. So let's just start with, is this a good idea? Do you want this to happen? Should Poe Dameron be the child of Cassian Andor? Would that make the character better, worse? What do we think? No to Poe Andor? Well, his last name wouldn't change. Yeah. No, I'm opposed to that because it would be a huge retcon. Would it, though? It'd be the same as the other retcons we just talked about. Poe doesn't have the accent. Well, an accent is more so what you grow up on. Bix doesn't have an accent. Cassian is dead, so Cassian wouldn't be able to... Cassian is gone, so he would not be able to continue that accent. He wouldn't hear the accent growing up. Wow. Wow. I'm seeing a lot of no's to this and not a lot of yeses. Okay. All right. All right. You'd be erasing whole characters with that decision. True. True. Whole characters that don't really have much to do. No, Poe doesn't need to be Cassian's son. Leave it as is. Introduce a new character for us to follow. I don't think we'll be following Cassian's son too much. Yeah, I don't think so. Please don't do this terrible idea. Okay. Okay. No to Poe being Andor's spawn. The Star Wars universe is too big to have these few people saving the galaxy. That's an interesting point. This gets brought up all the time. And honestly, it's the argument against the people saying that they don't like the sequels, but let's talk about it. The argument is that the Star Wars galaxy is so vast, so enormous, that we spend so much time with these individual characters, the same ones over and over again. Tony Gilroy says this all the time when he's talking about Andor Season 2. The fact that the entire galaxy, the entire Skywalker saga is all about this one family called the Skywalkers. And Andor Season 2 perfectly explains how the Star Wars universe is so much greater than that. It's so much bigger than that. You can have an entire great peak series called Andor that doesn't even involve the Skywalker family. And that's how great it is to be in Star Wars. Not everything is connected because the galaxy is so vast, so large. So the argument is this shouldn't be real. This shouldn't be a retcon because the galaxy is so big, and these two characters just shouldn't be related at all, because heroes can pop up all over the place. I like it. You mean like on Jakku? You mean like as a stormtrooper? Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Bail Organa is connected to the Skywalkers, though. True, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not... The whole purpose of Andor is not just connect more to Luke or Leia or Vader or... Yeah. You can have Jason and young Brazo be best friends. Oh, we're calling him Brazo now? That would be kind of cool, actually. If she named the kid after Brazo. I feel like she'd name it after Cassian, but we'll see. Jason Syndulla and Brazo. Well, I don't think Cassian's kid will be force sensitive, although they were kind of alluding to the fact that Bix might be a little bit force sensitive. That'd be kind of cool. But we'll see. Yeah. Are the Chiss Skywalkers ever going to be mentioned in live action? Honestly, I don't know. Because Thrawn's goal in Legends is the same as it is in canon, at least in the canon novels. And that is to protect his people, to protect the Chiss. The Chiss are his species. So, will they be involved in live action? I don't know. I really don't. I could see it being a story that's told, but I don't know if we're going to see a whole species of big blue meanies, you know? I don't know if we will. I hope we do, yeah. I mean, it would be great to get that story told in canon, in live action even, but I don't know if we will. I don't know if we will. Yeah. I love it when things connect, but it doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Just thought I'd throw it out there because people are losing their minds about it online. Just thought I'd throw it out there. With Tony Gilroy's comment of Disney saying that streaming is dead, it looks increasingly unlikely that we'll be getting a second season of Skeleton. Poor Neil. Honestly, this right here just makes me miss Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew really just, you know. It was an experience. You had to be there type deal. Like, after it ended, everybody stopped talking about it, but it was so underrated. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk the Acolyte. Whoa. Don't go anywhere. Okay? We're talking the Acolyte. We can do it in a nice civilized manner. So let's talk the Acolyte.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay. So, the news about the Acolyte comes from the cinematographer from season 1 talking about the making of the Acolyte. So let's talk about this. The Acolyte creator and cinematographer revealed how they created the handmade aesthetic to honor the original Star Wars. Here we go. Buckle in, chat. The influx of Star Wars TV shows have allowed a generation of fans to put their personal stamp on the universe George Lucas created. For Leslie Headland. Why does it do that? That's annoying. For Leslie Headland, the creator of The Acolyte on Disney+, everything started with the visual language that George Lucas established in 1977. We absolutely wanted to honor the ways that he chose to shoot the original Star Wars. Headland tells Gold Derby, the stuff that really inspired him beyond his love for sci-fi was documentary films and racing documentaries. There's a lot of static cameras. There isn't a lot of movement. I like to move it. Sorry. Okay. As this was pre-Steadicam, as the showrunner and director of the first 2 episodes, she hoped to avoid going in there and trying to make something not feel like Star Wars. Now, I know a lot of people are immediately going to go, The Acolyte doesn't feel like Star Wars. It does. It feels like Star Wars so much, not just because of the cameras not moving in the way that it's shot, but because of the Jedi itself and the way that the galaxy at large feels. Hang on. Yeah, so that was Darth Vader. Not really, sorry. I got distracted again. Okay. This is really annoying. Why does it do this? Maybe if we zoom out a little bit, won't do that? Ah, I fixed it. I'm a genius. Okay. To do this, she enlisted cinematographer Chris Teague, who she had previously worked on with Russian Doll. I don't know what that is. He won an Academy Award for it, apparently. Since they both lived in Brooklyn, they took long walks around Prospect Park prior to shooting to discuss the show's visual style. And during that time, Leslie Headland started to download to me everything that she had been thinking about. Included this. All of her influences for Star Wars, but also Chinese martial arts films. In that way, the photography impacted her as a viewer and how she wanted to bring that energy to the show. This is definitely seen in The Acolyte quite a bit. But, I mean, just the style of the fights, especially the opening scene. I forget what planet that is, but the opening scene of episode 1 where Indara fights May, that is very much the same. So, Teague, who served as lead cinematographer for the series, felt that they should adopt what I like to call elegant simplicity, choosing the most direct, straightforward approach on the visual side of things, which does feel like George Lucas. Leslie Headland would always say, "What would George do? What would George think?" And that was our guiding principle. I've seen this already online getting absolutely shit on because people think that The Acolyte is so against the grain for Star Wars, but I could not agree with this more. For instance, if you're going to move the camera, it needs to mean something. It needs to underline some part of the narrative, and it needs to be connected to some aspect of the choreography or something like that. Especially with the prequel trilogy, the choreography is such an important piece to the story. I mean, The Acolyte gives us the best lightsaber duel since the prequel trilogy. So the cinematography, or at least that and the fight choreography, are two of the most important things going into that show. And moving a camera one way or another is very important to telling that story. One of the things that Headland and Teague did to distinguish The Acolyte, which takes place about over 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, was create a vibrant color palette, whether inspired by Wuxia movies, okay, or Powell or Pressburgers. Yeah, Leslie Headland wanted the classic high contrast color palette that felt most unrealistic. Oh, because it's sci-fi and you're not supposed to be realistic. Yeah, again, very evident in the show. But this is sort of what's got people all stirred up online. And that was, what would George do? What would George think? That was our guiding principle for The Acolyte. Now, my question to you, chat, because we haven't talked about it in quite some time. I tend to not talk about The Acolyte just because it gets people going a lot. As much as I do like The Acolyte and really, really want a season 2, we don't really talk about it much because of the... I just don't like talking stuff that's going to get people mad, and I know it gets a lot of people mad. So we're going to just briefly talk about it. So tell me in the chat, do you want a season 2 of The Acolyte? Let's actually put up a poll. Why do we not have a poll up right now? What happened to our poll, chat? Let's pull it up. Do you want The Acolyte season 2? Yes or no? Do you want the continuation of Darth Plagueis possibly training Chimere or maybe even fighting Chimere? Do you want the extension of Yoda figuring out, well, I guess he can't figure it out, but even still, getting the backstory between Vadestra Rao and Chimere and getting to see that whole backlash of the whipped lightsaber on his scarring on his back, and seeing the continuation of Plagueis, and possibly even introducing into Palpatine and getting young Palpatine in the season 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it may be. You tell me in the chat. You tell me in the chat. I said this pretty recently. I don't know if it was on here or even on maybe a Star Wars Jedi podcast, but I really think that The Acolyte could have been, or could even still be, the best Star Wars show we ever get. Not that season 1 is the best, because it's not, but what the possibility of season 2, 3, 4, and 5 could look like, the possibility of transitioning from Chimere in Venestra Row to Plagueis, and then from Plagueis to Palpatine. And then it's sort of by season 3, season 4, season 5, it's transitioned into a Palpatine and Plagueis show because it's still the Acolyte, and then into a Maul show in a way. Because it's always going to be the Acolyte of the Sith at the time. And at that time of young Palpatine, the Acolyte would be Maul, because Palpatine is still alive and Plagueis is still alive. So the Acolyte of the Sith at the time would be Maul. And that would just be really, really cool. Greg, what's up? How we doing? Yes, the Acolyte book is coming out in a couple months too, right? 2 months? Okay. Actually, I think one of them's out now, right? I don't even know. You've pulled this up before? Oh, I definitely have. And right now, currently 68%, nice, almost 69. 68% of you guys say yes, you do want an Acolyte season 2. Furthering the season, yes. Season 2, no. Oh, furthering the story, yes. Season 2, no. Like in a different show, you're saying? I mean, I'd be down for that. If they changed it into the Darth Plagueis show, I mean, sign me up. Or the Chimere show. Whatever you want to call it, just continue the story. Whatever you want to call it, just continue the story. Yeah. Yeah. The Wayseeker novel is out now. Okay. There you go. The Wayseeker story is about Venestra and Indira, I think. So that story is told years before it's a prequel to the Acolyte. True. I might have to start reading that. Well, currently I'm rereading or re-listening to, I guess, the Heir to the Empire trilogy. I just finished Heir to the Empire. I'm on. Why do I always forget the second? Dark Force Rises. Jesus. So Dark Force Rising. So I'm on that one now. But yeah, that might have to be next on the list. Yeah. All right. Just wanted to see where we were at, chat. Just checking in. Yeah. I mean, if any chance to get more of those lightsaber fights from the Acolyte, sign me up. Sign me up. Absolutely. Any chance to get more of Chimere? Like, Chimere is just such an incredible character. Sign me up. I have to do an Acolyte rewatch now. Might have to get on that. I think there's one more thing I want to... Oh, yeah. Okay, let's check this out. This is switching gears over to the gaming side of things. So this new season on Fortnite is a Star Wars season. Fortnite just recorded its lowest average player count in 2 years. Now, I think the reasoning for this is because of Battlefront 3. Battlefront 3 has had this crazy push over the last couple of weeks, as many of you have seen. We've talked about on the live streams. Everybody's saying, make Battlefront 3 happen. Everybody's spamming it in the comment sections. And everybody has shifted back to Battlefront 2. The player count for Battlefront 2 has almost doubled its previous record. Yeah, that's right, record over the last couple weeks. So people have gone back to Battlefront 2 in droves, and everybody's playing that game. So I think the reason for this, the record low on Fortnite, is because Battlefront 2 is so back, and everybody's playing Battlefront 2 to get Battlefront 3 happen. There you go. So that's why I think that this has hit an all-time low. Why there are terrible fight scenes? You have people standing there doing nothing? Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. Where do I start? The Night. Or is it just called Night? The episode 5 of The Acolyte, Night, is the best lightsaber duel since Revenge of the Sith. And there's only 2, maybe 3 lightsaber duels that are better than it. And no, they're not people just standing there waiting. And talk about standing there waiting. Have you seen Revenge of the Sith? Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie ever. Don't get me wrong. But the fight between Palpatine and those Jedi who come to arrest him, it's horrible. Him versus Mace is pretty good, but even that's a little choppy. It's horrible. And talk about standing there and watching. Yeah. Yeah. But Fortnite has an all-time low in the last 2 years, and that's because of Battlefront 2. I mean, there's no other way around it. There's hundreds of thousands, millions of people going over to Battlefront 2 now. And those people were probably people who were playing the Fortnite Star Wars season. And that's why it hits a record low. There you have it. There you have it. So news is all over the place today, from Mark Hamill saying he's done with Star Wars to streaming is dead and maybe live-action Star Wars content's going to be dwindled down to possibly nothing in the future, but on Disney Plus, I should say. And Book of Boba Fett Season 2, Ming-Na Wen wants it. Star Wars fans seem to want it. Will it ever happen? I don't know. And, yeah, craziness. Another day, another crazy day to be a Star Wars fan. Absolutely. Should have brought Malik to Fortnite? I mean, that would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, but having said that, maybe we got to go start a Acolyte rewatch party. But I do have to get on out of here, so I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. Huge shoutouts for the Darth Plagueis Liz for the very generous super chat, and that Dave that loves Star Wars. I appreciate the super the memberships, all that. Membership super chats keep the lights on over here. I Hodge with the very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that. Says, when rewatching The Acolyte, seeing that May/Osha is the same person from a Force version / dark magic gives a whole new twist. Siblings, but not cool. Yeah, no, I mean, people had already checked out of The Acolyte at that point to not really get it, I guess. To not get it. To not fully understand or at least even care about that story at that point. But yeah, absolutely. Watching The Acolyte back after knowing how it ends changes the whole way you watch it. For sure. For sure. And I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I completely agree with this statement right here. I think The Acolyte would have been so much more popular if they didn't market it. Yes. So much of The Acolyte, the reason that it failed the way that it did was because of the marketing, because of the cast and crew interviews, because the things that happened in the interviews caused it to have a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes before it even aired. The show itself is just unbelievably good, but because people were already so angry at the cast and crew and creators, they didn't even care. They didn't care. Didn't care. They didn't care so much so that they didn't even remember that Night Sisters exist, that witches existed in Star Wars. It's crazy. It was crazy. Mad Planet with a very generous $5 holla says nothing. But I appreciate it. But I appreciate it anyway. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the super chat as well. If you haven't yet already, smash a freaking like on the stream. Yeah, let's have some fun. I'm working on something pretty cool in the background. Actually, a few cool things in the background. So watch out for those coming up either this weekend or yeah, probably this weekend. So watch out for those coming up this weekend. I won't give you any hints. I'll give you one hint. It rhymes with maybe. Okay. Smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Hit that. How many likes do we have, Chad? How many likes do we have? 65! What's going on, Chad? Smash a freaking like on your way out if you have not already. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell so you don't have time. Yeah, you know the deal. Yeah. And may the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all. Wait a second. Star Wars Jedi Chat Podcast with the very generous $10 holla says, thanks for what you do, Mike. I appreciate that, Ron. I really, really do. Oh, yeah. And guys, I know we don't live stream on Wednesdays, but Star Wars Jedi Podcast does. And pretty much 90% of the time, I'm over there, and I'll probably be there tomorrow, too. So if you are not yet already subscribed to Jedi Podcast, go get on that immediately. So, yeah, get on that. But I appreciate it, Ron. Okay. Yeah. Just another day. Some more crazy Star Wars news. I mean, what else is new? But until then, smash a freaking like on this stream. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.